Greetings, fellow mortals. When I was younger, I was told that I had an anger problem. By younger, I mean before I was even 15. Every time that I got angry in front of someone, it got shut down immediately. When I was frustrated with math and snapped a pencil in frustration, I got a 10-minute lecture about how terrible that was. When I was in martial arts as a kid, I hit a bag a little too hard and was accused of being an angry child. When I raised my hand to answer a question in class and the teacher implied that I was a moron and shouldn't have even tried to answer when no one else was willing to speak up, I gained an annoyed look. That got me a lecture and a semester's worth of passive-aggressive statements at me. In retrospect, I don't think that I had that much of an anger problem, at least not compared to any other child. I was probably somewhere in the middle. I think that my problem was that I tended to wear my heart on my sleeve when I was younger. I was really easy to read. As time went on though, I made sure that changed. I managed to suppress my annoyed and angered responses. I never resorted to releasing my rage physically, even with exercise, chores, or hitting a punching pad. I never even showed it in my face anymore. Instead, I would sit quietly with a blank expression spread across my face. It got to the point where even my own dad told me that I had a great poker face and that I could be a lawyer if I wanted to. In a lot of ways, I'm grateful for being told that I had an anger problem. Now, I'm told by many people that they're impressed by my level of patience. And most people can't get a read on my neutral expression or when I do fake smiles to make sure that people don't know what I'm actually thinking. In fact, it got to the point where the only person who's able to read me is my wife. She instantly knows my mood from one look at me. With my background with anger, you can probably see why I relate a lot with the Hulk. As a concept, he's my favorite hero. I remember seeing reruns of the old Incredible Hulk show. Every time, Bruce seemed to be hitchhiking at the end of the episode without anyone to care about him or rely on him. It was sad. While most superheroes gained powers which only brought benefits to their lives, the Hulk had abilities which ruined his life on a regular basis. I suppose that being a hero makes every character's life a little harder, but that's based on how they choose to use their powers, not the powers themselves. The only characters that I can think of that compare to Hulk are heroes that are stuck looking a specific way, like Beast or The Thing. Of course, there's the obvious example of Rogue, who can't touch anyone, but she can at least be upset about her situation. Bruce Banner can't be mad or upset about anything. One wrong move, one sliver of annoyance could turn him into a walking nuclear bomb. That's the conundrum that is the Incredible Hulk. In the Marvel Universe, he is the strongest, most unstoppable hero. At the same time, he's the one that can turn on a dime because he got too upset. Can you imagine never being allowed to be annoyed? Can you imagine having to worry about stubbing your toe and then leveling an entire block? Can you imagine getting slightly hurt and then blacking out for hours, days, weeks, or maybe even months? It's enough to go insane, and you don't even have the choice to end it all. There's no escape even in suicide. The only things that you can do are separate yourself from stressful situations, try to stay calm, and enjoy the time that you have until the next blackout where you'll lose a significant chunk of your life. Civilians are terrified of you. Your colleagues want you to be someone else to meet their own goals. Your life is full of stress during every waking moment. You can't even eat without worrying because if you bite your tongue by accident, then a bunch of people are going to get hurt. And this is all from Bruce Banner's side. In most versions of this character, the Hulk has an entirely different personality to Bruce. Sometimes they share their knowledge and experiences, but Hulk tends to be his own sentient creature. Look at the world through the Hulk's eyes. The only reason that he exists is to be angry and to destroy things. When he wakes up, he's in pain. People are trying to hurt him. There's an emergency happening around him, or there's going to be. Everything around him shatters if he so much as twitches a finger. Citizens scream in terror of him. His colleagues view him as only a weapon. His enemies view him as the stupid brute compared to the other, more intelligent side of his personality. When the fighting is done, everyone expects him to calm down and disappear into non-existence. To everyone around him, the only thing that he's good for is fighting. The duality of his personality was best used in the original Avengers film. Let's forget about the Incredible Hulk movie. We know that Marvel has for sure. Both Bruce and Hulk were used to perfection in the Avengers. Bruce knew that everyone viewed him as a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. The Hulk was a wild factor that Loki planned to use. Everyone besides Tony walked on eggshells around him. Bruce hated his other half and didn't think that his powers could possibly be used for good until he realized that the Hulk didn't actually want to hurt innocent people. While their arc wasn't complete by the end of that film, Banner and Hulk did find a place where they could use their abilities for good. Their lives didn't have to be a complete curse. They could do good and enjoy themselves. Well, more Bruce than Hulk, but at least the Hulk wouldn't be looked at as a monster and hunted down by the army anymore. That was a positive step for both of them. The first MCU misstep was that the Hulk didn't appear in any movie between Avengers and Age of Ultron besides a cameo. Considering that Hydra wasn't going to let Captain America get close to Hulk in Winter Soldier, and Thor had Asgardian politics to deal with in the Dark World, it made sense that he didn't fight in those films. But I do think that Iron Man 3 could have had Hulk play a significant role, especially because Tony's conflict in the movie was so public. He could have acted as Tony and Pepper's bodyguard, and Bruce could have had a dozen bodyguards of his own to keep anyone from angering him. The bodyguard's attempts to make sure that he stayed happy could have been used for comedic effect. Of course, doing this would change a lot in Iron Man 3, but I think that movie needs a lot of change. After all, it is the least impactful movie in Phase 2, even more so than The Dark World. That movie at least had storylines develop. You could skip Iron Man 3 and not miss anything in the grand scheme of the MCU. So bringing in the Hulk to develop him and show his loneliness would be a good step. That could lead into Age of Ultron, where Hulk would desire companionship. They could keep the romance Black Widow storyline with him. Instead of talking about how they can't have kids, they could start out with the basics, What if they had too rough of sex? What if he was having a nightmare while they were sleeping next to each other? What if one day Hulk gets too mad for her to calm down? She would be instantly killed. It doesn't matter how cunning, brave, skilled, or fast she was. If she was with him, Bruce would eventually kill her on accident, and that would destroy both Bruce and Hulk mentally. Have Hulk leave like he did at Age of Ultron. Instead of appearing in Thor Ragnarok though, give him his own movie. Instead of adapting parts of Planet Hulk, go all in on it. Have an entire movie focused on the Hulk. That would mean that Ragnarok would have to have a lot of change, but Thor has an entire mythology to adapt. It could be done. That way, a film could focus on Bruce and Hulk. The duo could have mental arguments about which one of them is the real one. Elokafai could come into play. She could try to recruit Hulk into a revolution. Originally, she could be trying to manipulate Bruce by pretending to be interested in him, but when she saw his mind and his conflict, she could grow to care for him. Bruce and Hulk could be constantly arguing about who should be the active personality around her. They bicker about Elo and are distrustful of her. Both of them are attracted to her because of her brilliant mind and her ability to withstand a Hulk punch. Their desire for companionship and to be free from their servitude could be the reasons why they agree to help her. Throughout the film, Bruce and Hulk could slowly grow to understand and accept each other. Elo could say it best by noting that they're two sides of the same coin. Neither one of them is the true self. They're both equally real. The only way that they'll ever be happy and have cohesion is to embrace each other. The movie could even have her try to train them to fight as a skilled warrior, but Bruce doesn't have the ferocity for battle, and Hulk gets too outraged to use her techniques. Near the climax of the film, the writers could have Hulk and Bruce switch at will. Hulk shows restraint and the ability to use fighting techniques in battle. Bruce becomes more assertive and stands up for the people around him as a politician and leader. They could have ended the movie with Elo and Hulk embracing. Right as they are about to kiss, they notice something overhead. Thanos was leading a fleet of ships to Planet Hulk. That's when they could switch to Infinity War. Instead of beating Hulk in an outright fight, Thanos could use hostages to subdue Bruce. Half of the populace of the planet is killed, including Elo. Outraged, Hulk managed to take over the Bruce version of their body so that he could fly a ship until he tracks down Thanos on Titan. Having lost his mind, Hulk reaches levels of power that shakes the entire planet. He and Star-Lord can act as two factors as to why they weren't able to stop Thanos, instead of it all being on Star-Lord and then the hate on Chris Pratt. And I really just don't understand why people hate Chris Pratt so much. It's weird. He's religious. I get it, but it's fine. It's not like he's being homophobic all the time. Moving past that, Endgame is a movie where I would change a lot, including the start where they kill off Thanos. That is a video for another day. Right now, I'll focus on the Hulk. He could be in distress over everything that he's lost. He and Natasha could come together and rekindle their relationship. She could tell him that focusing on the negative sides of everything always stops him from enjoying the moment and being his true self. Her death could shake him, but he could remain calm because it was her choice. At the end of the film, after seeing every past version of himself, and after accepting Natasha's death, Hulk accepts everything that he's gone through and what he has become. Instead of having complete control over his powers for the whole film, Bruce could gain mastery of his abilities during the final battle. Thanos mockingly calls him the Incredible Hulk, but he just smiles and speaks in Bruce's voice while in Hulk's body. "No, my name is Bruce Banner," and then he knocks Thanos around like a rag doll. His mastery over his abilities could lead into She-Hulk, where his powers are getting spread without his consent. He has to work with and train his cousin with her new powers. Having him be a real teacher and master over everything about being the Hulk could help fix a lot of the problems that She-Hulk has. Have it be a mix of Cobra Kai and Better Call Saul. When too many gamma radiation monsters are unleashed, Bruce decides to go for his ace in the hole. He creates a machine that purifies gamma radiation. Together, Bruce and She-Hulk manage to use the machine and revert everyone back to normal. Unfortunately, after years of being the Hulk, Bruce's body has come to rely on gamma radiation. He slowly dies in She-Hulk's arms. He notes that without Hulk, half of him is gone already anyway. Seeing visions of Black Widow and the people he's lost, Bruce declares his final words. So this is what peace feels like. And that's how the Hulk should have been written for the MCU, and how Marvel could have fixed She-Hulk from the start. I always seem to get people arguing with me that the hero shouldn't always die in the end, like with my Thor video. And I agree in a way. It depends on the story. Hulk's tale depends on the closure, which comes from death. Having a perfect Hulk around in the MCU means one of two things. Either they need to nerf the Hulk, or he has to die. We see which way that Marvel went, and it's not looking good for his character. Even as Marvel continues to ruin the Hulk though, we can still delight in what could have been, and the idea that the Hulk could have been the greatest of all the heroes in the MCU. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my takes on storytelling, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It would really help me out. Also, remember that I will be self-publishing my novel, Dance of Frozen Death, at the start of 2023. I hope that you will check it out. I appreciate you. Do not despair.